Hi team, welcome to our next podcast for the 1920s. We're continuing with social unrest and we're going to focus on an example or like a case study of how specific groups are being targeted. The group that's being targeted during this time is going to be Italians and it's going to be anarchists. And Sacco and Vanzetti are going to be our two examples of people who are going to be convicted of a crime that they claim they did not commit. So are they going to be proven to be guilty, or is this a form of xenophobia? Is this a form of being fearful of something that's different from who you are or what you believe? So Sacco and Vanzetti are just your average Italian immigrants who have moved to the United States. What's interesting about the two of them is they are both anarchists. They both don't believe in formal organized government, which is anti-democratic in the United States, and definitely something in the 1920s that people are specifically fearful of. We also have this concept of nativism that we discussed in our last podcast, where people who are not born in the United States, who are not natively born to the US, are very judgmental of people who are immigrating and coming to the United States. So this is going to be a reason why both Sacco and Vanzetti have a target on their back during this trial. So the crime that is committed, but allegedly committed by Sacco and Vanzetti, is that they're accused of shooting a paymaster and a security guard at a shoe company in South Braintree. So this is another local example of Massachusetts history. The paymaster had been transporting money from the shoe company over to the bank. So he was there to collect the money in order to bring it to the bank. And he had about $15,000 on him. But the money was never linked to Sacco or Vanzetti. The money does disappear. It was definitely stolen, but it's never actually linked to being in the possession of Sacco or Vanzetti. So we see two people who have been killed for this crime and then also the robbery that takes place. When the trial happens, Judge Webster there is extremely racist and he's extremely biased. He refers to both Sacco and Vanzetti as being Diegos, which is extremely racist term against Italians during this time period. It'd be like, it's not the same level, obviously, as using the N-word, but it would be a comparison, right? That's how terrible it is for Italians. Obviously, there's not the systematic racism embedded in Diegos as there is in using the N-word, but being called that is horrific for Italians. So the evidence that's being presented does not match up. The defense is actually able to find 16 different witnesses that say both Sacco and Vanzetti were in other locations. They were nowhere near this crime. And the judge actually throws a lot of it out. He says it's not relevant. It's not enough to overturn this potential conviction. They're guilty before they even walk into the courtroom, and that's the problem. Is this trial is not fair. The jury also sees them when Sacco and Vanzetti are on trial. They both sit in a cage. It looks like they have metal bars in front of them. So to a jury, it looks like they are already prisoners. Plus they have against them the fact that they are Italians and that they are anarchists. So the pictures that you're looking at on the right is Judge there. And then the pictures in the middle are the two different guns that Sacco and Vanzetti actually owned. And they are opposite and don't even look anything like the guns that were actually used for the crime. But the ballistics during this time period are just not good enough to really outrule Sacco or Vanzetti's guns, which is a problem. Both men are going to be found guilty in 1921. They're going to appeal their rejection, and it's going to be rejected up until April of 1927, and they're eventually going to be executed in August of 1927. We're going to find actually in the 1970s another gangster who gets arrested. His name is Frank Morelli, is going to admit to a cellmate that he was actually the one who committed this crime. And he says these two greaseballs, Sacco and Vanzetti, took it on the chin, meaning they're the two who took the punishment so that he could get off. Now, there's no connection between the two. There's no saying that Morelli and Sacco and Vanzetti actually knew each other, but Morelli allegedly admitted to having committed this crime. So in 1977, since this trial takes place in Dedham, Massachusetts, it takes place at the Dedham Courthouse, which is pretty cool. The governor of Massachusetts is going to declare it Sacco and Vanzetti Memorial Day. And he gives this speech, which is a really beautiful speech about getting rid of discrimination and hatred within our society. And he says that we shouldn't have these stigmas. We shouldn't be disgraced forever by where we're from or some of the things that we believe. We should get to know each other as human beings. That this is an event that we need to reflect on, that we need to prevent the forces of intolerance, fear, and hatred from from ever again uniting to overcome rationality, wisdom, fairness, in our legal systems, that we need to be able to put aside our prejudices, any of our discriminations, and make sure that all Americans are entitled to this, to a fair trial, right? And making sure that what we're doing is honest and fair. So, so that's all we're going to talk about for Sacco and Vanzetti. The next step for you is to watch a very short video that will give you just some images. I think seeing them on trial, sitting in that like little cage is really important. And then also hearing some of the things that the judge said, the jury said, will help kind of pull this story together for you. So this is just a skeleton of what happened. And I'm hoping that the video will help pull everything together for you. Okay? I hope you have a great night.